wonder what sort of person you are like. I wonder how well you manage change and difficulty. Do you cope with it well? Or perhaps you're a little bit more like me. You sometimes find challenge and change quite hard. Very rarely everything is sorted and tidy and there's harmony in all of our relationships. But if you ask anybody in my family, they'll tell you that when I'm feeling a little bit stressed, a little bit out of control, then what I tend to do is tidy the house and try to sort out things in the house as best that I can. And that gives me a coping mechanism for the things that I can't change or make different. The problem is that I really like them to tidy up too, and they find that a little bit irritating. But hopefully because they love me, they won't mind too much. But I wonder, how do you cope when things are difficult, when you feel really stressed or you're facing a situation which is just overwhelming? We're partway through Holy Week, and on Sunday we saw this amazing triumphal entry of Jesus as he comes into the Jerusalem, and we know it as Palm Sunday. But I imagine what the disciples are feeling and how they are coping with this different of emotions as they go through the week. Because it seems that after the triumphal entry, the chief priests and the teachers of the law are looking for a way to trip Jesus up. They certainly don't seem to see him as the Messiah. And towards the end of the week, they're looking for any excuse to arrest him. And that's what happens. They find a way to arrest him. Then they have his trial and his crucifixion. So how did his disciples manage their different emotions, their fears, their uncertainty, their confusion, their disappointment and their anger? We read that Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he was troubled, he asked his closest friends to stay with him and to pray. He knew what was going to happen that evening. He knew where it was leading. And yet he knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me." Jesus talks to his Father. He tells him everything that's going on. And he says, "Not my will, but yours be done." And just like Jesus and the disciples, we can feel burdened and overwhelmed, and our path can seem bleak. Jesus shows us here, though, that whatever our circumstances are, we can come to God in prayer. We can talk about anything. We can talk about our worries and our concerns. And we can say, "God, I don't understand, but I trust you. Not my will, but your will be done." And we know that Jesus tells his disciples in Matthew 11, this wonderful passage, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And what I love about this is the picture that God just doesn't take away our problems and worries, much as we would want him to, but he comes to join us in the midst of them. You see, the yoke that he talks about is, the yoke is like a collar that an animal would wear. It's not a one-headed yoke, it's a two-headed yoke. So if you imagine an animal pulling that plough behind them, God is here working with us in the midst of our situations. We're on one side and God is on the other. God says, "Come to me, come all who are weary and burdened. Wear my yoke, my way of living." There'll be two of us pulling together. And whenever you need to, you can take a rest for a bit, because I will do the heavy work. And we know that Jesus has sent his Spirit to live with us, to encourage us, and to pray with us and for us when we're finding life tough. In Romans 8, we're told that the Spirit intercedes for us. He prays for us in our weakness, and even through our wordless groans. What an image when we can't even say what we want to say, and we're just sitting there going, oh God, I don't know what to do. Through our groans, the Holy Spirit is taking our prayers and interceding on our behalf to God. So whatever you are going through today, may you know God's presence, yoked with you, walking alongside you, carrying the weight of your cares and burdens. May you know the Spirit's presence, bringing life and hope, praying and interceding on your behalf. And may you know that Jesus, who sits at God's right hand, who joins with us in our world, understands your situation and circumstance. He loves you, he's for you, and he encourages you to talk to God and to release your concerns and worries to God, saying, I trust you. Not my will, but yours be done. And to finish, I'd like to read a serenity prayer, which was written by a man called Reinhold Niebuhr. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy forever in the next. Amen.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my trouble.